Good morning, everyone. Okay, that microphone is working. Goodness. So it's 10:45. It is the last slot of sessions on the last day of Lifesavers. So what do you say we get started? Get you out of here. Sound like a plan? Well, good morning. My name is Laura Sonderup. I am the managing director at Heinrich Marketing. And we have offices here in Denver as well as in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I'm so glad to be here to chat with you today because I am a really, really lucky person, as is my team. Two of our clients, Colorado Department of Transportation, as well as the Wyoming Department of Transportation, are here today on the panel, and they have such amazing things to share with you. And we've also got representatives from two of our tribal communities in both Colorado and Wyoming to talk as well. So I think you should buckle up, if you'll pardon the traffic safety pun, and get ready for a really informative panel discussion. So before we move ahead, let me take a moment to introduce for you briefly the four amazing individuals that are on our panel today. Bernadette, I'll let you raise your hand. Okay. Bernadette Cuthair is the Director of Planning and Development and the Transportation Specialist for the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe located in southwest Colorado. Lisa is the Regional Communications Manager at the Colorado Department of Transportation. She's responsible for Region 5, which encompasses 15 counties and both of the reservations, also in the southwestern corner of the state. Winslow Friday is the director of the Wind River Intertribal Department of Transportation. The Wind River Reservation is home to both the Eastern Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho tribes in Wyoming. Cody Beers is the Senior Public Relations Specialist with the Wyoming Department of Transportation in Riverton, Wyoming. And since 2019, Cody has been the tribal liaison between the two tribes and WYDOT. So with those introductions, let's get started with our presentation. Bernadette, Lisa, I'll let you get started first.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Lisa Schwantes, and as Laura mentioned, I'm the communications manager for Region 5, which is in southwest Colorado. And we have the great distinction of working with both the tribes in southwest Colorado. It's Colorado's only two tribes. So I'm going to talk first about this one right here. There we go. As you can see, here's the map of Colorado, and our region covers 15 counties, and then again, including the Southern Ute and the Ute Mountain Ute tribes that are on the very, very southwest corner in the four corners of the United States. The first project I'm going to talk about today is a project that we worked on with the Southern Ute tribe. And this is the US 160 Wildlife Overpass. And this is actually an overpass and an underpass and a 2-mile stretch of high wildlife fencing that I don't know if you all are familiar with what wildlife mitigation projects entail, but we have, we set up the fencing so that the animals are funneled into either the overpass or the underpass. And this is a photo of the overpass that is very conducive to elk. And the Southern Utes have also set up cameras, as well as CDOT has set up cameras to capture the animals as they migrate. And what I'd like to say about this is that this was a very wonderful project. It was leveraged through the cooperation with the Southern Ute tribe. They actually contributed $1.3 million to this $11 million project, which was so important because every dollar counts on projects like this, especially in rural parts of the state. But even more exciting was that the Southern Utes also loaned their expertise through their environmental staff. They were able to help us with the data that is needed to build these types of structures and show where they are needed. So they had a study done with global positioning, which they had collared wildlife and big game. So this data tracking the animals along with what we call the roadkill numbers, in which our maintenance crews come through and they log every time that they have to remove a carcass from the highway. They log that information. So this was able to show that this corridor, which is the US 160 corridor that bisects and comes through the reservation, the Southern Ute Reservation, but it also is bisecting an animal corridor that is used for migration. So as a result, there were many, many wildlife vehicle hits that were occurring on this section of highway. And I'm looking for the number. It was an average of about 13 to 15 hits a year that were happening right here just within this 2-mile section. Even when we were not even finished with the project, animals were already beginning to use the underpass. So we were already seeing an improvement in wildlife vehicle collisions. But since the project was completed, we've only had 2 hits along this roadway. So it's just a very, very successful project. I do want to show you that we took advantage of, it's a very, very popular type of a project across the state and across the nation, frankly. So the tribe really, really took ownership in helping us with a celebration. There was a blessing that took place on the overpass, and they had their drummers come out, and we had about 100 people come out to the project that once it was finished, and we had the ribbon cutting, and everyone got a sticker that said, "I stood on top of the wildlife overpass." And then the governor's staff and the first gentleman were also on site for this. So it was just a very, very successful project. We're very, very proud to have been in partnership with the Southern Utes on this. And then I'd like to invite Bernadette up. Okay.
So I think the panelists have agreed that trying to play switch the chair with me isn't very effective. So if you guys would like to just stay seated, just make sure you're using your microphone.
Everyone, let me move this a little bit closer here. So again, Mike, good morning. My name is Bernadette Cuthair, for those people that are coming in. I am the planning director for the Ute Mountain Tribe. I've been in my position for 14 years now. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about the great work that we are partnering with WYDOT and the Ute Mountain Tribe. And one of those areas that we're looking at is we actually have a contract with Lamar Advertisements across our reservation. And we have approximately 10 faces out there. The tribe has negotiated 2 free faces, and hopefully that work will continue on. And the important piece of this is that the messaging that we put behind this is really to help the traveling public that comes through CDOT's right-of-way across the Ute Mountain Reservation. So this is just one example of that. There's a series of things going on in these billboards that are happening. It depends on what you're doing when you're driving on the roadway. So it can catch your eye if you're doing something wrong and saying you're seeing the actual logos that the law enforcement, or your eye will take you to, if you're looking for an RV or something to that effect. You have the RV, the casino, the hotel. So it's a little bit of economic development weaved in there as well. And also our messaging and the landscape. We want to give people the visual of the beautiful landscapes within the Four Corners area. So those are just the things, and of course highlighting the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, the great work that we're doing. And I think particularly this one really caught on. Actually, our tribal council and Chairman Hart, they voted for this History Lives Here. Stay alive to enjoy it, buckle up. So I think that's something that resonates. We all have a history, including non-tribal members. We all have a history. And I want to say it kind of resonates across the board, you know, the message. But the true message is buckle up, please. So that's kind of what we like to do, is kind of resonate that in there in our billboard. So this is something that's ongoing messaging every year that we work with CDOT, and of course our communication piece with that too as well. And I really like the diversity that the tribes have bring to this conference, and hearing the innovative ways of messaging, weaving in culture. But understandably, this is a major highway that comes through our tribal lands, and our messaging is different within the community, weaving in our language, Ute Mountain language, as opposed to major billboards that would be advertised on our major highways. So there's two different things we keep our eye on. So the next slide is, this is one project that we did. It's called Toyuk Passing Lane, US 160, 491. 491. Yes. So this one was particularly, this was back in May 6, 2019, and it was an $11.2 million project that the Ute Mountain Tribe, we actually partnered with CDOT for this particular round of funding. The Ute Mountain Tribe, this was our first round in applying for federal highway dollars at a major grant, and we were actually successful at it. And it's very competitive in nature, as we know, across Indian country. So we were successful in getting the $1.2 million for this project. So in saying that, some of the issues that we had before this, it was actually just a 2-lane, I would say, country road. There was a lot of issues with high traffic, diesel trucks, and you really get bottlenecked when you get behind someone that is going less than the speed limit, and it becomes very challenging when you don't have a passing lane option. So that's where we came to this great design with CDOT and said we can do a south and a northbound passing lane. So that has helped immensely. In fact, I think since COVID happened, there was a lot of truck traffic there increasing, and it hasn't stopped. In fact, it's increased because we have a brand new Love's in the area as well, is a competition to our Ute Mountain Travel Center. So we're mindful of that too. So, in all things that I think along the way, that just to cite a few things about the project itself, the construction was actually coupled with a couple of other, I want to say, infrastructure in planning. I think it's a brand new a thought that we have to get used to. Planning along the line means infrastructure could be water, wastewater. And I also want to say infrastructure is also your fiber now, because it is needed. And, people can't get their head around, fiber is infrastructure. Well, it is just like everything else. Our livelihoods depend on it. And, in everyday work, tribal government, anything that we do, even our personal lives. So that's something that along this passing lane, we did include fiber for 2.2 miles of that. So we got the interduct down, and the Ute Mountain Tribe is now in its construction phase. Within the next, we've selected our general contractors, and we've got this done already while the trenches were open. So that's we took advantage of that opportunity. So it reduced somewhat of our costs there. So that was the positive side of things. And, realigning, there's a county road that came from County Road A and B, and it was realigned. And those are some of the safety catches that we also introduced here too as well. So just a little bit of everything, so. Okay, sure.
So I'll kick this project off with that we also partnered with the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. And we want to talk about that not everything always goes as planned. But this was a pilot project. So as Bernadette mentioned, this area of the state is so important. The Highway 160 comes up directly from the actual four corners that is Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. And it sees a very high volume of freight traffic, as well as tourism traffic that comes into Colorado, either through 160 right at the Four Corners, or up from Shiprock in New Mexico up on 491. So this intersection right here is US 160 and Mike Wash Road, which is the road that goes directly into Toyac, which is the headquarters for the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. And this intersection also hosts a truck stop, a hotel, a casino, so it's a very, very busy intersection. And this pilot project, our traffic and safety engineers decided that they wanted to try some lighting that would be placed in the highway, flush on the surface of the highway to help delineate the lanes. Unfortunately, this proved to be, over the course of a year after maintaining it, it just proved to be too costly and too labor intensive. But I don't know what you would like to add, Bernadette.
So just giving you a little bit of a snapshot of Ute Mountain and this particular intersection on Mike Wash Road. The Ute Mountain Tribe is responsible for nearly 300 miles of BI system road, and we work along with federal highways on anything that we do, improvements, road maintenance for those lines, including Mike Wash Road. So just to give you a little bit of background on it, so I think that once they, when this was all thought of in the design, the engineers, and I think one of the fallacies is, we think it's going to work in a major city, and we'll apply it here like a runway. We'll have these little solar pucks that will illuminate, kind of like a runway to get you into your ingress or egress. So with that thought in mind, was a good thought, but I think, from the tribal perspective, people were saying, what is that? Because they were saying, we've never seen anything like that. And, you had to have a little education piece behind it as well. And, of course, they're free to call me anytime and meet me at Walmart and ask me a question or whatever, so catch me there. So, it's just a series of things that, I try to keep open communication with the community as well. So I heard a lot of questions behind it. They didn't quite understand what was the purpose behind it. And I said, well, it's kind of like your runway thought, trying to get you safely in and out kind of thing. But over time, it's kind of diminished as far as the lighting. And, along with our partners with CDOT, it's not cost effective really to start trying to go in there and replace them and, really keep it up, maintenance it at this point. So there are some different configurations that are up for consideration at this particular point because it's such a confusing intersection already. And I always want to ask the engineers, what were you thinking when you designed this? So sometimes
I'll take that back to our engineers, Bernadette.
So I think that it's one of those things that it really counts to get input from the people that actually drive the roads, because most of the time the engineers are either outsourced and they come in and they look at it only by count, by data, and you're just looking at traffic counts and so forth. But I think if you're in practicality, you have to get the input of the people that actually live there. and the employees that live there too as well, because those are some of the things that I don't discount. It just doesn't apply to tribal membership, it applies to our employees. We employ over 600 non-tribal member employees, either at the casino overall with our enterprises and our tribal government. So it's very important we hear their feedback as well. So those are kind of things that lessons learned that we've kind of looked at in the past. So next slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa and Bernadette, for sharing some of those initial thoughts and some great photos. Love that elk photo. Just so you know, we've got some great panel questions ready to go for the panelists. But before we get to the questions, Cody and Winslow, why don't you go ahead and acquaint us with some of the activities that you've accomplished together on the Wind River Reservation.
Thank you, Laura. First, I wanted to give Bernadette a huge compliment for not only her beadwork, but she's a very tough act to follow in this session. So thank you, ladies. I want to talk about WYDOT and our work with the Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone tribes. I had a couple gentlemen. Is there anybody in here from Boston? Nobody from Boston? So I can talk about people from Boston this morning? All right, so right out here in the... Oh, okay, well, it wasn't this gentleman, but... So I'm out getting coffee a while ago, and the guy goes, "So where are you from?" And I said, "Wyoming." And he goes, "Oh, everybody skis there." "Yeah." And he said, "I know a guy in Jackson Hole." And I'm like, man, everybody on the planet that I've ever met that's never been in Wyoming has said, "I met somebody in Jackson Hole." But anyway, where I'm getting is that the Wind River Reservation is literally right smack dab in the middle of Wyoming. If you closed your eyes and pointed at that square, you'd land right at Wind River. I live in Riverton, which is right on the edge of the northern edge of the reservation, but the reservation actually goes all the way around Riverton. It is the only reservation in the United States that has two tribes, the Northern Arapaho and the Eastern Shoshone, and we can talk about the reasons why for that afterward. But go ahead, Laura. WYDOT has always had a good working relationship with the tribes, but it's went up a level or two over the past 20 years, and I want to give credit where credit is due. We had a longtime planner and then a longtime tribal transportation director. You may have heard of the gentleman. His name was Big John Smith, and he was a mentor of mine. He's actually, I believe Winslow's related to Big John, who we lost a number of years ago, but we've tried to continue on the type of work that we do well together. And if there's one theme that I want to share today, is that WYDOT can't do the work on its own. The tribes can't do the work on their own. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the federal government, we have to work together. And we have worked together very well. As a matter of fact, we've done a number of these speaking engagements. I was with Winslow in Billings a couple months ago, and that was the whole basis of the talk is Winslow, how do you work with these white guys? And I am the white guy up here today, and the reason why I've got some expertise in this room is because my grandparents ranched right in the middle of the Wind River Reservation, and they chose to get along with people, and they had credibility. And so when I was asked to do the work that I do, I had some instant credibility, and it didn't hurt in the fact that I'm also the radio voice of the Wyoming Indian Chiefs and Lady Chiefs basketball teams, and so I'm tied in pretty close and culturally with the reservation. And if you ever have an opportunity to get invited to a sweat or into a lodge, please say yes, because it's an experience that will change your life. So back to our messaging and the things that we've done. I believe we're in our 13th year. Is that right, Laura? I want to give credit where credit's due over here to Laura with Heinrich Marketing. They actually represent Region 8, NHTSA Region 8, and they do a lot of the multicultural marketing. And so what we've done is we've listened. That's something you have to do. As WYDOT, we cannot step in and say, here's the way it's going to be. We're going to deliver the message, and we're going to save lives. Nope, that's not the way I do it either. You'll hear my voice occasionally out there, but you'll see the tribal people, members of each tribe, delivering the messages. And the reason that we're able to deliver good, effective messaging out there is because we listen. These were messages that were given to us in some listening sessions by members of each tribe. We engage youth. I've used sports teams out there. We've used forensics teams. We've used just average, ordinary citizens. But we've used youth to present the messages and also to challenge youth to change behavior on Wind River, on and off the reservation, and we've had pretty good luck. We got involved in messaging. We wanted to work with the tribes to deliver bilingual messaging. This billboard on the right-hand side is probably the most famous message we ever gave, and it's probably one of the most simple. This guy was the head bouncer at the Wind River Hotel and Casino, and we filmed that on the day it was minus 32 degrees, and it wasn't in Jackson Hole. It was right out on the prairie. This guy rolled his window down. He never put on a jacket, and he looks tough as hell, right? Tough as nails, but you'll see the Arapaho message at the bottom. We got incredible crossover off of this campaign. The Bureau of Indian Affairs used it in a regional information effort with their law enforcement officers. Even the non-Indian community where I live, young people wanted to use that. A group of football players and weightlifters did their own Buckle Up campaign because they wanted to be known as tough guys too. This is a brand new campaign that we're getting ready to launch for pedestrian safety. If there's one thing that we did not want to be on Wind River in central Wyoming is we did not want to be in the top 10 for various statistics. At one point, Fremont County, and we're trying to turn the tide on this, was the #1 reservation in the country as far as adult alcohol-involved fatalities. About 10 years ago, we were #1 in the country in pedestrian fatalities on reservations across the U.S. So we've engaged pedestrians, we've talked to people, worked with people like Winslow to say, what do we need to do? And basically, we've come to the conclusion that we need to cover people up with information, and just not the pedestrians. These tribes on Wind River are extremely involved in walking everywhere, and I would say that that's probably the case with most Native American tribes. And so we need the pedestrians to be safe, but we also need the drivers to be safe. We just had a pedestrian fatality about 2 months ago, and it was about minus 29 degrees out. In the middle of the night, the pedestrian was wearing black clothing. The driver never saw that person, but we haven't had a chance to talk to that person because, unfortunately, it was a hit and run, and this person was killed. And that bottom line, everything we do is about that. It's about life and death, and it's about saving those lives and making a difference so that today's young people can become the Winslow Fridays of tomorrow. one of the efforts that we have done over the past 3 or 4 years, and I'll give credit to this guy out in the audience. Pete, you want to stand up and wave at everybody? This guy's one of our facilitators with WYDOT. He works with communities, and Pete's an old cop, and he talks like one. He's so-so fisherman, but he'll say he's better than that, but, you know, believe me. Anyway, we created the Fremont County DUI Task Force, and we were not winning the effort against drunk and drug driving, and so we got people together, and we brought tribal leaders together to make sure that this was going to be okay with them too, and now we have a number of events throughout the year on the typical holidays, like Super Bowl Sunday. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I use Super Bowl all the time. We're supposed to call it the big game, you know, but anyway, we've done a lot of work at those specific holidays, and we put the message out before the event. We tell them what we're going to do, and then we send the cops out there. It's amazing how many DUIs we catch after we've told them and advertised that we're going to be out there, and then we publicize it after the event. Now, to take it a step further this year, Pete and the DUI Task Force and the chiefs have all gotten together, and they've signed a memorandum of understanding, which has broken down a lot of the jurisdictional issues we have, and now they're out doing DUI events in each community. So where we've got a hot spot going on for drunk driving, we've got cops from the Wind River Police Department, which is BIA. We've got them from Shoshone, which is a small town on the southern side of our county, working right in Riverton, where we've got most of the issues with drunk driving. And we're getting those drunk drivers off the road, and we're educating people and doing the good work of saving lives. But it takes everyone to get it done. Like these ladies to my left said, we've also undertaken as an agency and with the Wind River Intertribal DOT road projects on the reservation. We've rebuilt Blue Sky Highway, which is also 132. That roadway was narrow. It had basically no shoulders on the road, so pedestrians were forced to walk in the highway. And we widened that road. We put 8-foot shoulders on it, and then we also put a pedestrian pathway down the side of it, which is separated from the highway. And that's another thing that we've been doing, is trying to, when we can, we try to team up with the tribes to build these pedestrian pathways. Now, that requires not only WYDOT and the feds who are funding our projects to have skin in the game, but it also requires the tribes to meet the match. And right now, that match is incredibly expensive, but you know, what's the cost of a life? If you can get pedestrians away from traffic, you're saving people. And here's the man right here. We took a chance, and I want to give credit to Carson James in our Highway Safety Office. We were doing I have a grant every year that I work with through NHTSA, and we made the move, and we said, let's put a couple of these DMS, portable digital message sign trailers, in our grant application, and then let's dare NHTSA to say no. Well, they said yes. And then they said yes again this year. So Winslow and his crew now have 4 DMS trailers to put digital safety messages out along tribal roads in areas where things are happening, in areas where his crews are working, seatbelt messages, drunk driving messages, pedestrian safety messages, right out there on the roadway where all drivers see those messages. And, you know, we had to get a picture of him. He did go to the Rockies game last night, so I don't think he's a Yankees fan all the time. This is another project that happened. We were able to work with the U.S. Air Force. who was doing a lot of these type drills around the country where they land C-130s and other military aircraft right on highways. This is right on the Wind River Reservation. Now, tell me if there isn't a more beautiful picture on the planet that makes you want to stand up and put your hand over your heart and be American. And this is a really important thing for the tribes, for our citizens. These tribal people are extremely patriotic. And in our area, you don't see many white guys volunteering to join the Marines, but it's an amazing thing that tribal people that step up all the time to serve our country. So overall partnership outcomes, and again, I would say the partnership takes everyone, all governments, regardless of race. Our partnerships are strong in Wyoming, and we have trust-based relationships, and those are normal. We depend on those every day, but we're friends, and we get things done because we're friends and we work well together. Both tribes, their leaders and members are active participants in creating these traffic safety messages. When I put together a campaign with Laura's help, we show it to Winslow, we show it to the business council chairman on the reservation, and we don't ask them to vote on it, but we tell them what it's about, and then we listen to their input. And if there's, again, one thing I can tell you is you got to listen. You can't take over conversations when you work with tribal governments. You have to sit and listen and be patient. It's led to discussions and design of future highway safety and construction projects. One of the projects deals with a section of highway. I didn't even know it was called this until Winslow told me it was called Hell's Hill. And so you can imagine the connotations and the safety implications of a project like Hell's Hill. And we're working on that. As a matter of fact, I just told Winslow this morning that our guys are out there surveying today on that project, and that will hopefully save more lives on Wind River. And then we're continuing to declare war on impaired driving. We all need to do that, and we all need to keep working on the issues of seatbelt use, pedestrian safety. So, you got anything you want to add to that? I'm sorry I dominated the microphone.
Winslow is going to get my very first question, too. So please, go ahead and add what you'd like.
Okay, thank you. For those of you that don't know my name is Winslow Friday. So I didn't want to interrupt Cody because he's so good at talking, you know. He does it for a living. So as he mentioned, you know, he's the voice of our local Wyoming Indian basketball teams, and he does a good job. And I want to commemorate him on all his efforts throughout the years. He mentioned the man named by the name of John Smith. Big John Smith is what we called him. But these efforts, you know, have been ongoing for several years. I mean, we collectively with the Federal Highway, WYDOT, Fremont County, and the tribes, we reconstructed a portion of what's called 17-mile road. It's one of the projects that he didn't mention, but it was $26 million project. One of the deadliest stretches of a highway in the country, and you know, with our efforts, you know, we got that reconstructed, and it's really a nice highway now. One of the major highways on our reservation. But no, I want to kind of, I guess, talk a little bit more about the relationship with the tribes and WYDOT, what I've witnessed over the years. I was recently hired the director of the transportation of Wind River. I'm on my 7th month now. So I need a little bit more practice at, you know, in these types of settings. But But I've worked for the transportation office since 2008, so I'm no stranger to the transportation world. But we neighbor Montana, and in Montana there's 7 reservations now. While 7 federally, there's over 10 federally recognized tribes, but there's 7 reservations. But what I've noticed over the years is that there's absolutely, there's somewhat of a relationship with the tribes in the state, but it's unheard of in Montana with all the tribes there. And I'm really, proud that we have an established relationship, as well as the ladies to my left here. I'm happy to hear that they work with their tribes and their state DOTs relationships. I wish I could see this more. It's helped our people, our home, a lot more to have this relationship. There's several other things that we work with besides what Cody had up there to help our people on our reservations and the miles of road that we maintain. Because at the end of the day, it's all about safety. And then I know, funding's an issue all across the board, and it's even a bigger issue with tribal communities and the different types of culture that we have and how we do things. It has its ways, I call it the tribal way. Like Cody said, you have to listen and be patient, and I know that's like that for all tribal people. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and thank Cody, once again for all his efforts, and WYDOT, and it's all the other individuals, that I've had the opportunity to work with, and I wish to see this more often. And thank you for the opportunity to be here, Laura, for setting this up. That's all I have to say.
Please, thank you. As I warned you, Winslow, you're getting the first question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Currently, what is the biggest traffic safety challenge on the Wind River Reservation?
I don't know as far as statistically, but like Cody mentioned, the pedestrian fatalities that we have is a big, one of the biggest issues. And working with WYDOT as well as internally with our transportation department, we are implementing more pedestrian pathways.
Excellent. Cody, anything to add to that?
Well, pedestrian safety ties in with everything else because it is transportation. The pedestrian pathway system, I'll just give an example. This past winter, as you know, we do get winter in Wyoming, and it's very cold. And this year, one of the pedestrian pathways between Riverton and the Wind River and Hotel and Casino was being used extensively throughout the winter because the casino and the Northern Arapaho tribe set up some warming huts out by the casino that anybody could use. But it was amazing to see the amount of pedestrians going out there every day to get a bowl of soup and get warm. And that's really what the transportation network is about. We're extremely rural in Wyoming. We have 550,000 people in the state, and I think I saw 560 on I-25 coming down today from Cheyenne. It was a scary trip, but anyway. But it's very important. The transportation network is really about life.
Thank you. Bernadette and Lisa, I'll ask you the same question. What do you believe is the biggest traffic safety challenge on the Ute Mountain Reservation?
So I want to say, being a tribal member and living in the community and also an employee of the Ute Mountain Tribe, I want to say that the common unseen things or the unspoken thing is when we have visitors coming through the Ute Mountain Tribal right-of-ways or CDOT right-of-ways over tribal lands, is if there's ever a citation or infraction being from the perspective of a tribal member or non-tribal member on that roadway, it can be very cumbersome because they're looking at dual jurisdictions. And visitors don't quite understand that at times because they have to actually, if you're a non-tribal member, you have to wait for Colorado State Patrol to show up. If you're stopped by BIA police, vice versa. So it's some downtime there right on the spot. So, and it can be oftentimes very confusing, particularly if you're a visitor and you get cited in that right away. So it's something that we don't advertise or message, or we haven't really found the correct process to do that yet. There has been experiences, been working for the tribe in various capacities most of my life, and there's times or instances that we've had in particular leadership as they come in, as we know leadership come and go and they have different ideas. They've tried, cross jurisdiction deputization. So then it gets phased out, then it comes back again, and it kind of does that kind of thing for a while. But currently, we don't have any authorized cross or dual jurisdiction at this point. So that can be particularly challenging for us from the tribal perspective. If we're ever, your family's traveling down that roadway and you're minding the speed limit and you have somebody that isn't, it's very bothersome. And again, we're going to go back to the rule thoughts on the road. We have, I think that we pretty much know that law enforcement is right now at a biggest challenge along with health workers to find qualified people that actually want to do the work. So that is a challenge in the nation across the board, not just tribal communities. So right now we have probably about 2 BI law enforcement for approximately 400,000 acres of land for Ute Mountain. So that's challenging because we also have a satellite community of 200, 300 people in White Mesa, Utah, and they have to do dual duty over there as well. So between 2 of them and plus the chief of police. So really you have 3 staff members, and it should actually be 10 to 12 people that I've seen there at one time. So that is an issue for us right now. So Lisa, you have anything to add?
No, I would just very briefly mention that we do try to listen to you, listen to the tribal members to understand what the issues are on the reservation. As you mentioned, it is our state and U.S. highways that go through the tribal lands. And so while it isn't always about statistics, we always hope that our studies and our numbers can help justify improvements that are needed on the highways.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa. Bernadette, I'm going to pick on you next. Tell us a little bit about what practical advice would you give someone in the audience this morning who wants to start a similar conversation, a similar relationship process with their DOT in their state? What advice would you give them?
So that was kind of an easy one for me. So I want to say that in my line of work that I want to say maybe it was about 9 years ago, I had a conversation with the tribal chairman and the leadership, our council, and let them know that this is a particular area that we have not quite developed, and really we haven't really paid much attention to it as a tribe. And I think one of the things that, I just kind of brainstormed, threw it out there and said, I think we really need to get with the state of Colorado, which I want to say that The state of Colorado, just giving you a snapshot of what it looks like as far as our communications, is that we are tied in with the Lieutenant Governor's office, and we have a representative that also represents Southern Ute and Ute Mountain as well, and listens to any concerns and needs, even on, in fact, there was a bill that was just recently passed in the state of Colorado that our chairmen can actually go to the floor at the state and, address, the legislatures and, let them know that this is a concern, a need that we would like some help on. So that's another measure that was implemented with the state of Colorado. That's something new, I think is as of last year. And then also we have what we call CCIA. So that's another branch of Colorado Commission on Indian Affairs. So there's like a committee or advisors that kind of come out and listen to our annual meetings or our biweekly CDOT agreements. So stepping back, the Ute Mountain Tribe, we actually worked along with CDOT, and we wanted to know exactly what the issues are along the right-of-way across the reservation, right-of-ways. So we sat down and said, well, number one, we always talk about is, road maintenance. So we came up with a road maintenance agreement between CDOT, Ute Mountain Tribe, and the BIA. So that's kind of what we did, and those are a combination of people that are at the table when we have the annual and the biannual meetings, because we need to know exactly how to partnership and connect with each other. I want to say it's probably about maybe a 5-page MOU that we have at the state level with CDOT, and it's been, I want to say, any kind of document you have, I always want to say it's a living document, because the things change, condition changes every year. You have growth, you have changes that happen in your community. So it's always going to be looked at over and over again each year. So we've done that, and we've this year we've identified a couple of changes that we'd like to do with the document. And fiber was not considered in there as well, so that's something we want to talk about, like who maintenances that if it goes down. But it's in your right-of-way, CDOT, but so, we'll have that conversation at that point. But I want to say that it's been very instrumental in helping the Ute Mountain Tribe to address fencing issues, any kind of mowing, any kind of livestock that get out on the road, could be cattle. We have a lot of cattle down there, and feral horses that get out on the roadways as well. So those are the kind of things that we're challenged with across the right-of-way. So just to name a few things, ditch cleanouts, the covert cleanouts, those are some of the things that we look at. So I'm very proud to partner with CDOT that, each year in our tip, we always look at ways to improve our road system. So we've been pretty active on that. So I think that's something that really is a tool for us to all look at. So I know that I've gone through many conferences, and tribes ask us, how did you get to that level of communication for your tribe, and really getting some assistance within your reservation? Well, I also understand that a lot of tribes don't have the luxury that a lot of, it all comes down to politics at times. And politics can really either hinder or it can help you. So in some of the tribes that I talk to, and they say, oh no, we don't have a good relationship with our state, kind of thing. But I think that in understanding the constraints or your bottlenecks, that's one of them. That's probably the biggest one that I want to talk about. So I think in doing that, I just want to say that the roads are for everyone. I think Cody said it best, to save lives. I mean, that's really what we're all after. It doesn't matter if you're going across the Ute Mountain Reservation through CDOT right-of-way. It's about saving lives on the road. So, Lisa?
Oh, I would just echo you that it's about open lines of communication, and so we greatly value the time that we do have to meet with both the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe as well as the Southern Ute Tribe on our annual meetings, and we actually meet more often than that, don't we? Through task force meetings and that sort of thing, but it's open lines of communication for sure.
Excellent. Winslow, Cody, anything you'd like to add to that in terms of practical advice to folks in the audience?
Yes, I would like to add to that as far as advice. I know from a tribal perspective, as far as my upbringing, I learned a lot from my grandmother, and I'm sure with the tribal members that we have in the audience, based on our creation stories and where we come from as Native people, we have a mainstream media or mainstream that movement, what they call the seventh generation. I've been noticing a change in our own people, my own people, but in our language, we call it the rising people. And as far as the advice I would have to give is to just take that risk and to communicate with individuals is outside the tribal communities, the reservation. I have a history with the U.S. government as far as where I learned how to talk for myself and stand up for myself, and it's brought me a long ways. It's brought me here. This opportunity to speak in front of you all. But as far as advice, for the next generation coming up, I would emphasize, the prayer part of it, because of the prayer is overlooked, as far as the next generation moving up, and I utilize it on a daily basis. For example, I said a prayer before I got here to make sure that I could get my message out there for this audience. But that would be my advice as far as if I were to give it to anyone who wanted it. And I'm a younger individual, and I forgot to ask for excuse me speaking in front of my elders. But to answer the question, that's my best answer.
Cody, did you have anything to add?
I guess I would say it's about mutual respect and understanding. The old adage of let's treat each other the way we would like to be treated goes a long ways in this world. And it doesn't matter if I live in Riverton or if I live in the middle of the reservation. We're all people, and we have needs, and we have issues in our lives, and we need each other. And the whole idea that people succeed, and then this person's neighbor wants to tear that person down so that they don't experience that success is something I think that this country has gotten into a really bad cycle with. And to me, it's very refreshing to be able to work with gentlemen like Winslow and tribal members who still are very closely tied to the earth, and they treat all of us with dignity and respect.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll shift gears here for a second. How many of you over the course of the last 2 days have had an opportunity to see this gentleman's new spot, Captain Roush from the Oglala Sioux? This is the one where the two gentlemen are on the horses and putting on their seat belts. Have most of you had a chance to see that spot? So Bernadette shared that with me some time ago when that was first released. And again, kudos to you and your team for your excellent work on that spot. Yes, please. So my question for the panel, and you may become an honorary panel member after they've answered, because I'd like to hear your thoughts, Captain, on this question as well. As long as my team and I have been working to help develop creative within our tribal communities and for our neighbors that is relevant, it's respectful, and it's results-oriented. Those are the 3 R's that we do all of our work with those things in mind. So having said that, I looked at that spot and I thought, what an amazing opportunity to integrate tribal culture with a little bit of humor, because humor's tricky, folks. If you've ever done a funny message that flopped, you know the pain that I'm speaking of. And so I want to ask the 4 panelists, if you had an opportunity to change places with me for a day, and you were developing an amazing federally funded messaging campaign. So the sky's the limit, which is not real, but indulge me. Anybody from NHTSA here? Okay. So the sky's the limit. What is one thing that you think is missing from tribal traffic safety messaging? And Bernadette, may I start with you?
Sure. So I want to go back to the thought about there's 2 different audiences that you are actually trying to reach. Like I said, CDOT right-of-way is more the general population, and also within our community of those 300 BI system roads are the heart of our communities. And I think that's really important to integrate perhaps the language, Ute Mountain language, and also how it ties into the cultural, how did we do things in the past that have helped us to survive. I think those are the messages that we really need to focus on, and how it relates into, respectfully, into transportation. And we are no longer on horses, but we are on our Mustang Fords. So it's a transition we all have to get used to. So I think that it's one of those things that is really, really important that for myself as a tribal member, and I come from a long line of my father, Ira Cuthair. He was one of the bear dance chiefs with the Ute Mountain Tribe for a long time. He lived to be 95 years old, and to his very last year, he was still doing the bear dance culture, singing, and helping the people. And it's very important that I integrate those thoughts and have, the input from the elders to make sure I'm appropriate standing there. And as Winslow said, we always come back to the permission of elders. And one thing that I like to see is getting the permission or some input from the younger generation, because they are the ones that are going to tell us what it looks like in the future and what their world will look like. So that's also important for me as far as messaging. So those are the 2 audiences that I really like to work with Laura and her group and into 2025 and look at something a little bit different that we can kind of shift it up a little bit on the messaging. And it's great working with CDOT and how we can make it a little bit better and have a better value and a better outcome as far as reducing traffic fatalities or, helping with those numbers to decrease it, so. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bernadette. Winslow, can I ask you the same question? You're designing a traffic safety campaign for Wind River. What does that look like? Who are you talking to?
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback off Bernadette, what she had mentioned as far as the audiences, and I know Cody has already initiated this by implementing messages through the basketball teams, the different teams, different schools, and I would like to see that continue as far as getting the message out, and I don't really think anything's missing. Just from outside looking in as far as any type of components, but like Bernadette said, the youth is our future, and what their world will look like is up to them, and I would like to see them more involved as far as how they want to get there. How they want to mold their future as far as their involvement, and the roles have changed over the years as far as where the youth stands in society, and education is a major component of that, as well as our own cultural education and our knowledge that we have. And the generational change that is happening, as well as the next generation starting to take over the tribal side of things. So it's very interesting to watch and move along with it. But that's what I would have.
Excellent, thank you. Captain, may I put you on the spot and ask you? Yes.
The reason why we kind of didn't want to use the PSA that comes from all over.
Captain, can you come up and use this?
I thought I spoke about it. You got one?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I got my own one. I won't sing, I promise. So the reason why we use local is because we noticed that the kids, they were like, hey, this guy's wearing, fire department, New York, Minnesota. So we started using the youth, the elders. Anybody that's willing to get in front of a camera, we'll put in front of the camera. And the reason why is the folks that you see in those posters, they're not going to be spreading that message where you work. So by us using local actors or folks within our PSAs that we push out, they become ambassadors. Because when they go back to their districts or their communities, they're spreading that same message. So it's kind of like the flu, it spreads. That's the best way I put it. So we try to use local folks. The kids like it. They can relate to the message. Like a couple of years ago, we went through our whole entire reservation. All of my folks that make the highway safety program work went across the reservation and took a picture of every single WYDOT sign on the reservation. And some of them have been gone because of road construction, but I think we ended up with 176. And we made that in a PSA. We put some music behind it, and we played it. And a lot of the kids were starting to realize, hey, that's at my bus stop. Or, hey, this is in my district. I drove by there. So they got that buy-in, and it actually hit home. So I think that's the way to go. And we're going to keep coming up with new ideas. You got to think out the box. And as far as inviting, I invite everybody. If they don't, necessarily have a direct relation to the PSA, I try to get their opinion. Maybe they have an idea that might work, and we'll try it out. So, but thanks.
Thank you, sir. Cody, I am guessing you might have a comment to piggyback on the captain's comments, because you do that regularly in your area.
Yeah, we've used a lot of young people in our campaigns, and the one thing it does allow you to do, and I'm assuming you have the same type of conversations with young people, but it gives, I call it a come to Cody moment, not come to beers. You have to have humor to do DUI education with that last name, right? But But you have that talk with them individually that, yeah, I'm going to put your image out there. I'm going to use your voice on a PSA, or I'm going to use you in a video. But so now I'm asking you to think about your decision making every day after this. You cannot get caught drinking and driving. I don't want you to die. I want you to buckle your seatbelt every time. If you're going to say buckle up, then you've got to walk the talk, right? So it gives you that individual moment with that young person, and I fully agree. We've got to engage young people, and we need people a lot smarter than me that know what Snapchat is and all this other garbage that kids use, because they're already working on the next communication tool, because adults are starting to figure out Snapchat. It all started in Facebook, and then it went to Twitter, and then it went to Snapchat, and then it's all these other things. That's where we need to communicate with these kids, because that's where they live every day, no matter who they are. So we've got to do that.
Yep. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
No, I think this is good.
Good.
We're good.
Perfect. All right, well, let's transition again for a moment. And I am sure after everything that you've heard today from these amazingly knowledgeable folks up on the dais here, you've probably got some questions as well. So I would like to turn the emphasis on those of you in the audience, and please ask some questions of our panelists. Yes, please. Let me get you a microphone.
Hi, Lawanda stands and looks back from the Rosewood Sioux Tribe Reservation in South Dakota. I'm the tribe's planner. First time here at this conference, very informative. So many ideas are swirling around in my brain up here. But for Lisa and Bernadette, I want to try something similar like that on the Rosebud. And I was thinking about doing the solar lights along our pathways, but no. Yeah, big no. And so now I'm going to try like maybe some retro-reflective tape, paint, epoxy, something to light up our pathways, because I'm running into a problem where we're putting pathways, we're getting grants for pathways through federal highway, but that doesn't come with the lights, doesn't come with lighting. And we're very rural. Pine Ridge is here, we're sister tribes to them, and so we're vast and we're rural. So it's just dark. I mean, you guys can attest to up in Ute, Cheyenne, all of our tribes, we're all rural. So what did you guys do? I mean, do you still have the lights there? Or are you going to take them out and try something else?
So the lights were solar powered. They were discs.
Right.
They were flush with the pavement. But as we mentioned, after about a year, a little over a year, it was not cost effective to keep them the battery that was needed to be inside them, and then despite them being flush to the pavement and the surface, our snow plows just still did a number on them.
Yeah.
So I would think that maybe on a walkway it might be a little bit more successful if you
Right.
maybe investigated and did a little research on that to. It could work for pedestrian pathway, but and I believe that I've driven by and I believe there are still some pucks in the pavement.
Yeah.
They're no longer working.
Yeah. Well, because there's always that mindset. You can't light up the whole res. You can't put pathways across it. But I always feel that it's our trust lands. So if we want to do that to make our pedestrian traffic safe, because of course there's a lot of pedestrian traffic. So I don't know. I just have a lot of swirling ideas,
Right.
and I just wanted
maybe
to know
some
what
key areas,
yeah,
along your
definitely.
pathways.
I will do that and try that. Hopefully it's not an epic fail for traffic safety engineers that are in here, but got to try something, because we can make non-motorized traffic safe by creating them a multi-use pathway. But if it's so pitch black and it's not lit up, I mean, yeah, everybody has a cell phone, but your battery is going to die. Flashlight. I mean, we've done so many different type of ideas for the pedestrian traffic. So sometimes it's hitting a brick wall. And so
Right.
now I'm like trying to be innovative and try everything else I can think of, so.
I think the key has been for us to continue. We've identified an area that definitely needs improvement and enhancement with safety.
Yes.
And we continue to talk about how we're going to improve that area. And it's continuing even a couple of weeks ago at our last meeting. We're still talking about it.
So one of the things, I'm a planner too myself, but I work with a lot of engineers and get different recommendations. And the tribe actually has from the 491 up to our headquarters, it's about 2.5 miles into our community. So we have a walkway and it's lighted all the way, like solar lighting all the way, LED lighting. So a lot of the, truckers, they use that, to walk or either bike because they have different requirements now. So, or they walk their dogs or whatever they have to do to stretch their legs. But I think some of those things that you're talking about might work, like in the pedestrian walkways, but I don't recommend it for roadways. Roadways, I think the simple answer and probably most cost-effective, as I heard from CDOT, maybe you'll see it out on these, if you take drives and, if you're driving, you'll see it out on the roadways. It's the reflective kind of taping. So that might be something, and then you have to also be mindful of the requirements to whatever it is in your state too as well, so if it applies, so.
Excellent. Good. Thank you. Great question.
Thank you. And then Winslow, I will be working with you at Northern T-TAP. So what kind of meeting? Zoom meetings by death. But that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think we've got a question right over here.
My name is Karen. I'm with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. My question is, for those of us who do not have current relationships with our Indigenous peoples within our communities, what is a good way to start? With the understanding that, at least myself, I'm afraid of insulting or doing something wrong, so I'm like hyper vigilant around being cautious, around being respectful. And where do I begin in a kind and open way that is respectful to the tribes? Where do I begin that outreach and those connections?
Everybody.
That's for everybody.
So I can kind of try to, answer that. Like I said, though, it's different from tribe to tribe. I guess my suggestion would be to start at the chairman, the council, or that level. It doesn't hurt to ask, just to reach out and say, can we meet? I'm not sure how all this started with, my home in WYDOT, but that's what I would do. At the end of the day, most, I would say all tribal people, indigenous people are always open. The saying, the door is always open. And it seems like that's more true nowadays in my experience.
So I'm coming from a planner perspective that what I do on a daily basis is that normally if I hear from someone like, if you identify someone in the tribe as the to-go person that does everything, that gets before, has the ear of the council. So if you identify that person within the tribal government and say, I would like to get before the council and have your proposal prepared and say, here's my proposal. This is what I'd like to, this is my objective. These are my goals to work with the tribes. So that's where I would start and try to get them to identify someone you need to work with within the tribal government. They'll identify someone and say, this is your point person that you need to work with. So most of the time, it's always me, so thank you.
So the good news is you now have 2 contacts, right? So if you want to start with Colorado and Wyoming, maybe have a success there, and that learning process continues, right? Excellent. How about some other questions? I know one that I'll ask on your behalf. You saw some examples of bilingual messaging that we have used on the Wind River Reservation. I would love to hear your comments, particularly Winslow and Bernadette. I know that in some tribal communities, language is dying with elders. And efforts are being made to start introducing native language classes to the youth in school. And so what are your thoughts around bilingual traffic safety messaging? Is that something that we should be considering every time we're developing a message so that we're helping you reinforce that native language? What are your thoughts?
So I want to say that the Ute Mountain Tribe, we're in our third year of a public chartered school for the Ute Mountain Tribe, and we started at kindergarten and we're in up to grade 3. The grand vision for the Ute Mountain Tribe is to have an educational campus, including K through 12 at some point. We're in the process of doing a master plan for the Ute Mountain Tribe and a housing plan. So in that, particularly focusing on students. So going back to the thought of a master educational campus would, the grand vision, we're thinking high, reaching for the stars in our plans, and we'd like to implement at some point a tribal technical school, vocational school, also perhaps a tribal university, because we're in a hub of the Four Corners area, and we have many Native Americans. Our neighbors to the south are Navajo Nation, so they also have tribal colleges of their own. However, we want to dream big, and someday it might be a reality. So that's something that we're looking at. Going back to the thought about educating our students, it is also in their curriculum, as you know, across the nation, that Native American cultural or history is not part of your general curriculum. However, in the Ute Mountain WYDOT Academy School, it is a must in there to have it in our curriculum. They learn our culture and anything that has to do with history, oral history. So that's something that is being taught on a daily basis. And also, it's something relatively new. Like, I want to work on this as my goal and objective for 2025 to include those students, because right now we're trying to figure out the bus routes, and there's been a number of issues there going on as far as transportation, drop-off, delivery, and pickup. So we're still working on that. So it's still work in progress with the Ute Mountain Tribe. And like I said, it's a relatively new initiative for us as far as the tribal school, chartered school. So it'll be unfolding, and I look forward to working with those folks that are the administrators for the school, and hopefully we can get to some resolve, because I think one of the things that we have to understand is, I think I spoke about this, I want to say on Sunday, my biggest conflict that I have is why schools don't have seat belts, because at that very intersection that we're talking about, a school bus did get hit like 3 weeks ago, and it hit the motor, and luckily didn't hit the back or the middle. So, but there was a child that broke their arm and their collarbone, and had a lot of scratches and bruises. So to me, it's almost and I want to say in my simple head or my simple mind, the law says we have to, if you're getting in a vehicle, you have to buckle up your seat. It doesn't matter, child or not, adult. So to me, and I guess I don't understand why there's exceptions to that, especially it's not going to help you in a school if there's a rollover, if you don't have safety belts. But somehow they say, engineer, it's supposed to help you, in the bus, I guess the impact of the seat in front of you. And I just don't understand that thinking, but I think it goes back to my thought about how important life is. And to me, it really impacts me that way because, that's why I do the job I do, is, I want to make sure that, child, adult, whoever it is on the roadway is safe. And it's just like buckling up is kind of like teaching the kids good practice. It's like brushing your teeth, buckle up. So that's a simple message. So hopefully I'm going to work on that with our local RE1 school. So trying to get there. So thank you.
Winslow, any thoughts you'd like to add to the bilingual messaging question?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak with several individuals within our communities about it. Wherever the idea came from, I'm grateful for that. It shows tribal leadership that the attempt, from the NHTSA or wherever this is coming from, that they want to be a part of revitalizing, helping revitalizing the language, and that's a big deal where I come from. Like you said, the language is dying within our communities, and but the feedback that I did get from the community members that I did speak to about, they're all for it. They're excited. It's interesting to hear, because I'm not a fluent speaker myself, but I do understand some of the language. But it's interesting to hear how they translate those messages and what it exactly means in our language.
Yes.
So as far as the education standpoint, I'm super excited to be part of that because I love learning, and but yeah, that's
Excellent.
my answer.
Thank you. So I'm trying to be a good moderator and keep an eye on the time, and I know we're very close to the end of our session, and we are standing between you and leaving. Having said that, I think our panelists are willing to stick around for a few minutes, so I would encourage you to come up and have a quick chat with them if that's appropriate. If you haven't gotten this message yet in 2.5 days, I don't know if I'm going to be the one to change that, but you do have the ability to weigh in on today's session, so please remember that. And as we close today, I am going to ask those of you in the audience who do not identify as American Indian Alaska Native, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand or anything, you know who you are. I do not identify as American Indian Alaska Native, but what I didn't expect that. I love what I do for these communities so much. Oh my God, you guys are all going to be like, oh, the woman who cried. Oh, I'm sorry. But I will tell you that, what did we agree, Cody? It's been 13, 14 years we've been working together, and you were our team's first tribal work. So it's been, let's say, 14 years. Every day, white people, is an opportunity to learn. Do not call someone at a powwow in beautiful clothing. Do not call it a costume, it's regalia, okay? Do not say, I'm holding down the fort. Do not say, low man on the totem pole. And I'm not going to tell you today why not to say these things. If you care enough to develop a relationship with our tribal neighbors, go home and Google what I'm telling you not to do. But have some respect. The respect can't be one-sided. So as you think about what you've heard today and what you've learned, I just want to leave you with that we have an opportunity to learn. And that's part of what has happened with C.WYDOT and their tribal neighbors, and that's why it's working, because there's an equal commitment to respect and to learning. So you need to go do your part. I think our tribal neighbors have more than done their part. So get educated, and then come to the conversation ready to make some positive changes and save some lives. And that's all I got. So have a good drive home or a good flight home, and be safe.
If I could just throw in something before everybody leaves. You also have to have a champion. And you were talking about relationships. You will find those people in your communities, and we've got a champion here, as you can see. Somebody who's very dedicated to the type of work that we're trying to do. And frankly, if it wasn't for Laura, we wouldn't be where we're at. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come up and talk.